guys, Dark Knight here. I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but I guess I can turn up my stream. Hey guys, Dark Knight. Okay, so apparently you guys can hear me. So this is my first live stream on this channel, or it's not my first live stream on this channel, but it's my first programming live stream on this channel. So if you guys are coming from my old channel, one of my my only series on my old channel was building a framework, and I didn't quite finish that series, and this is just an update. I will be going back to that channel, finishing out that series and things like that. But if you guys are coming from my old channel, welcome to the new channel. This time around, I figured the best way to help you guys out and any kind of questions that you guys have would be through live stream. That way I can help you guys out as I'm going. And then the next thing is I'm going to be using the PHP steroid project that we did in the last YouTube videos or on the other channel. And if you haven't watched those videos, you can definitely hit the link down below, and you can watch those videos completely free. It's YouTube, and you can actually get a feel for how the framework actually works. So today we're going to start building a social network. We're going to start with the PHP steroid project, basically where we left off on those other videos. And if you take a look here on my other web browser, or on my web browser, I have two templates. They both came in a package. I'm going to be using these two templates to build the social network. So this is basically what you're going to see when you're logged out of the network. This is going to be your login page, very bland. I should probably put the header bar at the top. This one's called the learning template, and then this one right here is called the social network 1 template, and they're both part of a kit. It's called Theme Kit. It's relatively cheap on ThemeForest. If you guys want to go over to ThemeForest, check that out. One of the things that sold me on this template is Social 1 was actually designed for social networks, to build social networks and things like that. And I'm not much of a front-end guy, so I'm not very good with designing custom templates and things like that. I mean, that's the front-end guys. Let them do it, and if they put it on ThemeForest, fine, I'll pay for it. I mean, that's the way I feel about it. So this is basically what it's going to look like. We're going to build all this functionality in our network. We'll actually build more functionality than what the template actually offers, and you'll get to see what my designing actually looks like. I'm just going to take different components of this template, throw them together, pretty much on the next on the things that this template does not offer. So what we're looking at here is it gives us a timeline. It gives us a block listing, which, yeah, that works. That's actually exactly what I'm using on Blabaway. As a matter of fact, this is the same template I'm using on Blabaway. But if I sign in and I look at this, I mean, that's what our homepage looks like. And between you and I, this is really slow. I mean, this loading all this and then organizing it, that's really slow on the browser. I mean, I'm using a really awesome gaming computer, 32 gigs of RAM, 8-core processor, things like that. And if it's slow for me, it's going to be definitely slow for somebody using maybe a tablet, such as like an iPad or an Android tablet. So what we're probably going to stick with is this look here, which is not very dependent on the browser. I mean, it does depend on the browser, but we'll probably customize this a bit. Make this text area a lot wider. That way it looks a lot better on the eyes. We're going to make these little blocks. It's going to be a lot wider, kind of like these. That way everything's kind of uniform So we're going to customize this template quite a bit, and this is going to make it look like the Facebook timeline a little bit. If we go to the profile, this is what we get as a profile page. This just doesn't seem right inside of the template. So if we look at this listing up here at the top, what we're seeing here, this is perfect for a profile. So that's what I'm going to use. I'll probably take these buttons, flip them over to the other side. But this right here is perfect for the profile. So the template's not necessarily perfectly everything put in place, but everything here is what I call modular. Everything here is put together in such a way that I can take any of these components, move them somewhere else to any other web page, and it just works. So that's what I like so much about this template. So that's what we're going to do. I don't like this messaging template. On Blabaway I used it, and I just couldn't get it to look the way I wanted it to look. So we're just going to use the chat bar towards the bottom of this. And so today, what we're going to start working on is a social network. We're going to call it Webola. I'm already on the domain. I've already got everything set up. iNet Portal is running on the back end of this. So I have a little tool here just to get me access to PHPMyAdmin. I'm trying to get the ERD tool to work for like database design and stuff like that. So I have a little tool here. It just allows me to access PHPMyAdmin through the iNet Portal gateways and proxies and things like that. It just gets me through all the security of iNet Portal. So in this framework, I have a base install. I'm not going to open the index.php file because that has my security credentials and things like that for the framework to work, like the database credentials. So I'm not going to open that up. But I have the base framework installed here. I have just a controller here. It's called main. And one of the things that you'll notice about iNet Portal is I don't have an htaccess file in this directory whatsoever. But if I go to Webola, I mean, I still get my main file. If I do that, I still get a 404. So everything's still processing through this index.php. So I don't have an htaccess file there. If you really need an htaccess file, say you're running on cPanel, you're running on Plesk, some kind of shared hosting, or you just don't want to reconfigure your Apache install like that. Whatever it may be, you can use the WordPress.htaccess file. Works exactly the same way. Matter of fact, iNet Portal uses a very, very, very similar method of doing things as WordPress. So the WordPress htaccess file will work for PHP Steroid, like I discussed, discussed in my previous videos on my other channel. So without further ado, I'm sure you came here to see me do some coding. So that's what we're going to do. So on my main controller, I'm just going to delete this echo function out here. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start adapting our template, or installing our template to our framework. So how do we do this? I'm just going to load a view. And I'm just going to say template index. Over inside of our app folder, inside of our views folder, we need to create a new folder. This folder is going to be called template. And inside of this folder, we're going to have a new file that's going to be called index. Alright, so if we go grab our template real quick over here, and if we refresh this page, we're just going to get a blank page. That's fine. That's what we want. So the first thing we're just going to do is I'm just going to right click on this, view source, copy all this source code, and I'm going to paste that into NetBeans, just like that. If we hit save, refresh this page, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get a bunch of broken images, a bunch of broken JavaScript, and a bunch of broken CSS. That's fine. That's exactly what we want. Because what we're going to do is we're just going to find a common thing that this template has. Or shall I say, multiple common things. So if we see this link href, we're just going to do a file or edit, find and replace, wherever that is. We're going to take this href equals open quote. We're just going to replace that with href equals open quote, and we're just going to paste that directory there. So now if we look here, we just fixed all of our CSS. Now we're going to do the same thing for images. Oh, we also fixed all of our links too, by the way. We're going to do the same thing for images. So we're going to take the source. We're going to replace that href with with source. We're going to replace all. There we go. All of that should be fixed. Even our JavaScript should be fixed. So now if we jump over here to this page, if we jump over to this page, if I can find the right one, and hit refresh, everything should be working just fine. Next thing we need to do is we need to pop on over here. I'm just going to right click inside of NetBeans, hit format, and that's going to give me all the formatting I want for my code. That way I can read that a lot easier, see where everything's at. I'm going to change this title to Webola. Actually, I'm just going to change this this title to a little PHP ternary statement here, which is going to give me pretty much saying, is that title? And we're going to set it to title. If not, then we're just going to set it to Webola. Description, we need to do the same thing. Yep, that should be a dollar sign. We're going to take this, we're going to just pop over here, put that there. We're going to get rid of, well, actually, I'm just going to set the author to Gary Mathis. Or Darnay. Next thing we're just going to do, I'm just going to copy this meta tag right here, because we need an extra meta tag for keywords. I'm going to grab this, replace these two variables, and there we go. I'm just going to pop the word Webola in both of these for now, and we can come back to this later and fix that. Okay, now we're going to get rid of all of these comments. That way we don't have a big cluttered web application. Alright, and this is just basically the template saying, hey, you can break all this up into different files. I don't like doing that. I like it all in one big file, so that's what we're just going to do, is keep it the way that the template already has it. Alright, so now that we have that, let's pop over here to this ST container. Let's see where our header ends. So there's our fixed nav bar at the top of our page. Looks like we have sidebar content. Alright. So looks like this page actually has a chat window on it. We won't need that, so we'll delete that as well. It looks like all this is just a chat application widget template thing. Since the user's logged out, they won't be needing that. So we're just going to pop over here. We're going to get rid of all of that. And if we pop back over to this web application, everything should still look almost the same, except for this little button right here that says chat won't work anymore. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is we're just going to take all this information here. We're going to get rid of all the extra crap that we don't need anymore. So I'm gonna leave that login button there, but we don't need this this chat thing there either. We're going to get rid of all these little color boxes there. We don't need those anymore. That's just a way to make the template show off itself. Okay, we're going to get rid of this drop down. We don't need that. And if we take this and look at it now, we see our menu bar is changing a bit. I'm going to leave everything that's already there like it is. And we're just going to see what happens when we're going to make it smaller. So it looks like this little chat bubble popped up. We need to figure out where it came from. So if we look here, there's a toggle navigation there. And there's the navbar brand. We just got to read through this and see exactly where that chat button is. And if we take and refresh, that chat button's gone. So this is a responsive template, and some things are apparent whenever it's small, some things are not. So we're going to take this learnings, because this is called learning, or this template's called the learning template. We're going to take that, we're going to rename that to Webola. And we're going to refresh. Now we're starting to get kind of a look at what our menu bar is going to look like. We're going to replace this with learn more and help. We probably want to do some a third link really. What we're going to do is I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm gonna add the third link over here, and that's going to be sign up. So we're just gonna pop back over here, see what that looks like, see if we need to flip them around. Nope, that looks great. So now we need to figure out exactly where this page content starts and where it ends. So the best way to do that is we can tell that that's the menu bar, but if we look at this, this looks like an ID numbered content, so I'm guessing that that's the content of the page. So we're going to go from there to the bottom. I'm going to create a new PHP file. I'm going to call this head. And I'm going to create another new PHP file. I'm going to call this foot. Alright. So now if we jump over here to this index.php and we get rid, well, we're not getting rid of anything, but it looks like this needs to be a wrapper and extra div for emulating the position fit menu, cover, overlay. Okay, so we're going to take this all the way up and we're going to move this to this head file. The next thing we're just going to do, I'm going to grab this div. Looks like that's the top part of here. That's fine. I'm going to grab this div, figure out what all that is. Looks like it's all this bottom text here, which is great. And lastly, I'm going to grab all that, move it over here to this foot file. And things are starting to come together. Template's almost finished being installed here. I'm going to take and remove all this extra junk that we don't need, and this is just like the CSS. It can be all split up, but I like doing everything under one page request. Makes everything a little bit smoother. Alright, so now if we take this, the strong file, or this file, the strong tag, we're going to replace this to Webola. And I don't want to put a version number there, and we can leave that copyright there, but the year, I'm just going to replace that with a dynamically generated date year. So now if we come over here, hit refresh, things look a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to do, this index file, I'm going to go ahead and format it. That way it looks little bit cleaner. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get rid of all these extra white spaces we don't need. That's just extra clutter in my eyes. Yep. And let's jump back over here to YouTube and let's see how people are doing. Alright. Back over here, and I'm still getting rid of all these extra extraneous white spaces that we really don't need in this file. And I'm going to do something magical with this file. Here in just a second. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this file. I'm going to move the contents to a new folder. I'm going to call this main, and this is going to be index. Okay, I'm going to paste all that there. I'm going to get rid of this head file. We don't need it anymore. And I'm going to open PHP. I'm going to say load view. And I'm going to say template/head. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom of this page. And this is going to be template/foot. So now, if we come back over to Webola, oh, I forgot to do something. I deleted the wrong file. Oops. So let's tell version control inside of PHP, inside of NetBeans, to bring that file back. We'll delete the index file. So we come back over here. Now that index file is gone, and we're getting an error inside of PHP. So we're just going to take this template, we're going to make that main, and we're going to come back, hit refresh, our template's back. So that's pretty much what it looks like to install the template. Not much, well, there's quite a bit to it. It looks really hard when you first start, but once you get good at doing the templates, it should be a breeze. So I'm not gonna, in this video, I'm not going to actually redo all of this text. I'm gonna redo some of this text as I go on. I'm not too worried about that. That doesn't logically change the fact that the social network's going to work. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to start building some of this stuff out. So here we go. I'm gonna start working on the sign up page. So first things first, we need to go to template head, go down to this where it says sign up, and I'm going to change that URL /register. Yep. So with this register function, what we need to do now is, if we come over here, hit refresh, and hit sign up, we're going to get a 404 page, or a fatal error that the 404 page don't exist. But we're going to come over here, right click on controllers, hit new PHP file, paste the name of that controller there, and I'm going to jump over here and hit PHP, and we'll tell it, let's create a new class, call it register. We're going to extend the controller class. Now we're going to jump back down and create an index function, and if we hit refresh, there we go. Now, first things first, before we get all rambunctious and start working on a registration page, we need to know how this is going to work. So if we jump over here, I'm going to create a new database table. I'm going to call this users. The number of columns, I'm going to give that, we'll give it 10 to start off with. I'm going to hit go. And we need to start filling this information out in our database. So what am I going to do? I'm going to have an ID number of every user. It's going to be 11 characters, well, up to 11 characters long. or 11 digits long, excuse me. We're going to have a first name. That's going to be a varchar. I'm going to give that a maximum of 50 characters, because I doubt somebody, unless they're like China somewhere, that or they have multiple first names, or they speak a language other than English. Usually people's first names are not any more than 50 characters long. Now, I'm going to do the same thing for last name, because the same thing goes for last name. Unless they have like 4 or 5 last names, I don't think we're going to go any more than 50 characters long. So, next thing we're just going to do is we're going to say email. Now that's one that I think can be more than 50 characters long, so I'm going to give that a maximum of 75 characters. So we got the first name, last name, email. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to create the password field. And if we just do a little bit of research on MD5 links, we can see 32 characters. That's going to be an MD5. So just for being safe and playing it safe, I'm going to say maximum 40 characters. That's going to be a varchar. Okay, so we got first name, last name, email, password. Let's do a username. And we're just going to max them out at 25 characters long. So from there, we're going to start with a create date, or created time. And this is going to be a timestamp, and it's going to be current timestamp by default. No length or value there is needed. MySQL will do that for you. We're going to create another field. We're going to call this delete flag. And this is going to be a tiny int of 1. By default, that needs to be 0. Okay, we're going to create another function, or another flag here, and that's going to be called activated. Activate flag, and that's going to be a tiny int. By default, that's going to be 1, and that's going to be as defined 0 by default. So length 1 as defined 0. The next thing we need to do is the user should be able to come back within 30 days after. Well, that's weird. My icons just like all disappeared for some reason. But the user, after deleting their account, should be able to come back within 30 days and reactivate their account. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a timestamp, and it's going to be called delete time, or delete date. And it's not going to be a timestamp, it's just going to be a date, just like that. By default, it's just going to be null, and everything else by default should be null. And I noticed this on MySQL cluster because this is a MySQL cluster, and you can see that by my storage engine here. I'm not using InnoDB or anything like that. I'm using NDB cluster. And with MySQL cluster, one thing I've noticed is if you don't have a default value for a field, you need to set it to null. And the reason being is MySQL will simply fail on your insert statement if you don't pass down a value, if you don't have a default there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. So there's our new database table. I'm going to go dive right into that, and I'm going to hit structure, and there's all of our data that we just created. So let's jump over here. I'll put that over there. Next thing we need to do is I'm going to say load view. And this is going to be register /index. Over here, we're going to create a new vault. I'm going to call this register. And inside of that, we're going to create a new PHP file, and this is going to be called index. Inside of this file, first things first, we need to include our template. So we're going to load view. And we're going to change that to foot. Now, if we jump back over here to my web browser, and we bring that back up, let's hit refresh, that's an old page, and I hit sign up, that's what we get. We get a blank web page. That's exactly what we wanted. So, and you'll notice inside of my template head, I did this. If it's set title, then set it to title, Webola. You may be wondering how to actually make that be set when this is loaded. So the best way to do that, and actually this is the only way to do this, is inside of our register function. Actually, let's take a look at our load view. So if we can look at our core classes, we have a load class here. The first thing it does, the first parameter it takes is whatever file that we're trying to load. The next thing it does is it takes another parameter, and by default that's equal to a blank array. So that's a set of variables passed down to this view. So if we jump back over here to this register index, and we come over here and say array, and we pass down an array of keys and values, then PHP is going to see that as variables within that view file. So if I say title, and come back over here, hit refresh, our title has been changed. And we didn't have to go create a whole new head section just for that new title. Just load it, pass it down. If it's not passed down, it's just going to set it to its default, which is right here. Same thing with description and keywords. If you don't know anything about arrays, you probably need to take a look at php.net. It's got a lot of great information about arrays. So if you also don't know about what the extract function does, because that's how it does this. It uses the extract function. If you don't know what that does, head over to php.net and look up the extract function. It's a pretty awesome function. And a lot of developers, I have a friend, he's a great developer and stuff like that. And when he started using my framework and came across this extract function, he's like, dude, what the hell? I'm not used to this. This is crazy. I'm usually doing like a for each loop. And really and truly, he would keep it in the same array because he didn't even know that this worked. So if I did this, and then come over here and say new var value equals if I jumped over here and did this, right, and I said that equals to this, and notice I have $2 here. That is on purpose, and NetBeans isn't throwing a syntax error, so that is grammatically correct inside of PHP. And what that does is pretty cool. So what it's doing is it's saying take the content of this variable, so take this, and create a new variable out of it. Set that new variable equal to the content of this variable, which is exactly what this extract function does, except for it does it for the array. And it does it over and over. It's like taking that and putting it in a for each loop and doing it for an array. So really and truly, if we said this, and this is, will come back as true, that would come back as true at this point, because test does equal new var value. So that's exactly what this extract function does for that entire array based off the keys and values. So knowing this and seeing that representation of how that works, we can assume that the extract function does this. We say view vars as key equals value, and we say take the content of key and set that equal, well, create a variable with the name of the content of key and set that equal to value. And that's exactly what the extract function does. So if you want to read more about that, take a look at it on php.net. So now if we look at our view and we go to register index, really and truly a good template for this would be our login template. What that looks like, except for that looks really bland. I'm going to leave the white background. I'm going to leave that up to you to change. But wouldn't it be nice if our head bar was there? So let's do it. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to find this login, which is right here. I'm going to put this inside of this index file and look at what it looks like. And that's what we get. It looks ugly. So let's take a look a little bit closer and see what we missed. So if we take this class container fluid, I bet I know what it is. This body has a class to it. And let's just go ahead and test this out and see if it works. So let's use that. So that changed, which is good, but it still fills the entire width of the page. So what I need to do is I need to modify my template. I need to come back over here to this head portion. In my body, we need to say class equals, and inside of this, say this. And we're just going to say is set body class. And we're going to just jump back over here into this this index page. I'm going to pass down another variable for that array called body class. And I'm going to say login. Now if we come back over to our page, we refresh. That looks great. But what's still going on? So we need to inspect this a little bit. Let's go look a little bit closer. And I'm having ST content, ST pusher, let's see here. So this ST content looks like it's got a background to it. It also looks like it's got box sizing. That shouldn't have anything to do with that. Positions relative. Actually, let's get rid of this ST content and see what happens. So if we come back over here and we look at this ST content as container fluid, look at this overflow to hidden. Oh, that looks a lot better. So we need to add another a parameter to this this SD content inner. So we jump back over here. We hit that, or the SD content. Probably what we need to do is, since we have that, we need to include that on the pages that it's actually needed. So let's come back over here to this index page. I'm going to throw that back at the top. Let's go to our foot, and I haven't actually worked with this template in, well, about a year. Just over a year, actually. So I'm still a little bit rusty on this template. I'm learning some things as you are. So yeah, here we go. So if we go to index, scroll down to the bottom here, put in our div, hit format, and that's going to kick everything over. And if we hit refresh now, we still get that background. Let's inspect that. That's part of our container fluid. And, well, it's not part of our container fluid, it's, could be. SD content has that background. There we go. So what we need to do is we need to create just a quick style tag, because SD content is actually part of our template. I'm going to go ahead and format this real quick. And we're at the bottom here, we're going to say style. And we're going to say SD content. Background, none. And if we come back over here to the sign up page, hit refresh, that's exactly what we wanted. And we have our bar at the top. This one didn't, so I like this page. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that extra space. I'm going to take this head. So this is from template/front end. I'll take that. We'll take this file. We'll copy that. And we're going to use this file for our login as well. So I'm just going to create what the login page is going to look like. So here we go. So now if we say sign Webolo, and we come back over to our register page. That's what it looks like. We hit this login. We need to create a login controller. So we'll come over here. We'll hit login. Create a new PHP. Call this login. We're going to extend controller, like always for controller. Say function index. We'll say load view login/index. Now, if we jump back over to our head section of our template, you'll notice I changed that register function. We need to do the same thing for login. So now, if we hit refresh, our login button up here works. It says sign into Webola, so that tells us we're using the other view, which is great. And if we hit this button right here, we need to change that real quick in our template, because we want to go to the home page when somebody clicks that. So now if we come back over here, we hit that, we go to the home page, everybody's happy, we hit sign up, and we hit login. That works. So now what we need to do is we're going to start working on this register page. So I'm going to start closing things out that we don't need anymore, like everything. And we're going to come over to this register page where it says forgot password. I'm going to change that to / register or / login. And I'm going to say already have an account. If we come back over here and we hit refresh, you should see that changes on the sign up. Already have an account? Great. And we probably need to say, instead of forgot password over there, we'll do that when we come up to the login page. So we'll come back over here, we'll say, we'll change this from an A tag, because it looks like that's just an A tag. We need to change that. We're going to actually make that a button. We're going to keep the same class, and we're just going to say type equals submit. So now it's still the same button, or it still looks the same, but it has a submit button now. So we need to create our form, and this form is just going to have a method. It's not going to have an action. And the reason being is if you're submitting the form to the same place that the form is loaded, you don't need an action. HTML already knows that. So I'm just going to set a method post. And if we hit that and we hit login, it works. And we hit register. Well, we change that to register. And our button will change. So in our database, we set it up to where our database needed 5 values. So we need to collect 5 pieces of information from the user. So those 5 pieces of information ends up being their first name, their last name, their email, of course their password, and a username. So it's going to be first name, last name, email address, username, and password. We're going to give all these form elements a name. Okay, so now that all these form elements have names and we've added all these form elements, let's jump over here and see what it looks like. And as you notice, as I'm going, I'm always testing my code. I'm always trying to make sure it looks good as I'm going, because I don't want to get 3 hours ahead of myself, have to come back and figure out what I did 3 hours ago. Because honestly, usually I'm going so fast that I don't remember. So might as well do it while it's on your mind and do it later. I mean, that's my philosophy as a programmer. So, the next step, we want to go ahead and jump over to our register.php. And inside of our register.php, we have our index function. This function is going to take in all the functionality needed to register a user. So, let's get to it, shall we? So, I'm going to say, I won't have an if statement here. I won't have an else statement. Inside of this else statement, we're going to load our register view. So now, inside of this if statement, we're going to have if is set. And if you remember back, we set up all of our form, our input names. That's what we're going to check to see if they're set. So we're going to say request so it's first name, last name, email, username, and password. Great. Now the form, the page now knows if that data has been submitted. So if I hit register, the form knows that. Now, it is up to you to write the JavaScript or the PHP or anything else to validate that form. I'm not going to do all of everything for you. I'm just going to give you the pathway to building a social network. I'm not going to do every single piece of the social network for you. So, it is up to you to figure out how you want to validate this form. But this right here, or if you want to add more fields to this form, I mean, you can ask for their city, their state, different things like that. Later on in this video, in this series, we're going to start doing geolocation. Now, geolocation is going to be based off of IP addresses, and I know that's not 100% accurate, but it's going to be close enough for what I'm doing. So, if we jump back over to our code, you would do your validation. If you're going to do it in PHP, you would do it here. If you're going to do it in JavaScript, you would do it in here. But your validation needs to be done somewhere. I'm not going to do it for you. So, what I'm going to do though, is I'm going to show you how to insert this data into the database and get the user logged in for the first time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say users equals new users. Now, I'm creating a class that don't exist. And if we jump over to models, that's where we need to create this class. So if we go over here and we say PHP, we say class, I got caps lock on, class users extends model. What this is going to do, and because we're using PHP Steroid is going to notice that that class is not being loaded anywhere in the framework. It's going to use this auto load function. It is going to go find that class and load it in for you. So that's how that works. So you don't need to go futz with dependency lists or anything like that. PHP Steroid will do that automatically for you. So what we need to do is our users class exists here. We need to create a function, and it's going to be function create. And it's going to take in 5 parameters. It's going to take in first name, last name, email, username, and password. Now, what we need to do is we need to say function. We're not going to function. We're going to say this model query. So, if you're wondering where this variable is coming from, we're extending the model class up here. That variable's designed and all the database connections are all connected here. All of that's automatically done for you. So if we come over here and we write our query. Now, PHP Steroid can do two types of queries. There's one type of query, which is your classic query that you could use with MySQL query within PHP, the default, like the old school, or you can use the MySQLi prepared statements. And that's what we're going to be using everywhere, is the prepared statements. Because I don't like futzing with trying to figure out what all the bad characters is. I'm going to let MySQL do that for me. So, that's the beauty of MySQLi. Letting MySQL do its security checking for you, instead of you making it do it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and write our insert statement. So, we're going to say insert into users. And we're going to give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. And we're going to do values. And since we're using a prepared statement, we just put question marks here. So there's 5 question marks. It's got to match up to however many values you have here. And when you're doing a MySQLi prepared statement inside of PHP Steroid, because currently PHP Steroid's not going to see a second parameter here. So it's going to look at it like, hey, this is a regular MySQL query. Let's just run it the way it is. But since we're going to pass down a second parameter into this function, an array of values, it's going to look at this query and say, hey, I have values here. Let's use it as a prepared statement. And it does that all automatically for you. So no futzing with it. Everything's done for you. So I'm just going to copy and paste these field names into this query here, because that's the last step to this query. And there's our query. And what we need to do is since we're creating something, MySQL is going to give us something back. It's going to give us an ID number back. That's what we need. So what we're going to do is we're going to return this model insert ID. And then we're going to jump back over here to our register class, and we're going to say ID equals users create, and we're going to pass all this data down. And if you notice, I'll put all this data in a specific order, and that's for a reason, just to make it easy on myself. So there's our ID. So now our user has been created in our system. That's very simple. This is the simplest way of doing it inside of PHP Steroid. It's up to you to do all the validation. I've already went through that one for you. And you would add all that there. But next thing we need to do is make sure that the user is logged in now. So what we're going to do is we're going to use PHP Steroid's handy dandy session class. So I'm going to set a key and a value pair. And I'm going to do this for 4 variables. I'm going to give it the key of ID. And I'll pass down this newly created variable from the user. I'm going to do that a couple more times. And I'm going to change that, and that. And username. And we'll do the same thing here. Alright, so with this, we can say that the user is logged in. But since we've done this, we need to go modify one of the core components inside of the framework. We need to make sure that the isLoggedIn function is done. So that is done for us. I mean, it's the way I've set it up, it's already done for me. That's great. So PHP Steroid came with the default way that I set up my sessions. So now, what we need to do is we need to redirect the user to some other page. So we're going to use the handy dandy URL class, and we're going to redirect the user to home. And we're just going to get rid of that. So now, that is our registration function. What I need to do now, since we're going to be moving on to the login functionality next, we need to create a new controller, and I'm going to call this logout. And our logout controller is going to be very simple because PHP Steroid does a lot of this for us. So we'll say class logout extends. So basically, you just have to tell PHP Steroid where you want this functionality to be, and it does the rest. So we'll say session end session, and then we'll say URL redirect. So there's our logout functionality. Very simple, easy to use. It does all the everything for you. So if we go ahead and run this, now that we have our register, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my first name, my last name, my email address. So it'll be Gary.Mathis@the4.net. Username is going to be Darknight, and my password I'm not going to tell you. One thing we forgot, and I just remembered this. My password is not being MD5'd. So what I need to do is come over here to this users class. My password needs to equal to MD5 of my password. You can do that if you want. It's optional, more recommended, but that's the way I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna hit register. As I see, it went ahead and did all the logging me in, and I'm at the home page now. And if I go over to my main controller and I add a construct function, and I can say, go ahead and execute the parent construct and say if common is logged in, then redirect our URL redirect to /home. So this is just a quick and easy way to make sure that the user did get logged in, because if I hit the web root again, it should redirect me to home, and it's doing that. And one thing I'm getting tired of is I'm tired of seeing that 404 page not working. So I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna go ahead and create that. So the way PHP Steroid does that is inside of the views folder, we need to add a new folder. We need to call that error. Oops, I misspelled that. I'm gonna go ahead and refactory name. And inside of here, we need to create a PHP file. That'd be 404.php. And I'm just going to say in here, I'm gonna load my head. And inside of here, I'm just going to put H1 404 page down. And And this is just temporary. We'll come back and modify that later. App views errors. Probably did not set that to plural. We'll refactor that again. We'll add the S at the end. So we'll come back over here, make sure that that works. Looks like it's working like a charm. So, if we come back over to NetBeans, we need to make sure that we are logged out. So if we hit that, we should be able to hit /logout, and it will log us out. And it did. Next step, we need to set up the login functionality. So, as you may have guessed it, it's asking for email and password. I don't want to only allow the user to log in using username. I want them to also be able to log in using their email. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close out of everything we don't need anymore. And I'm going to go into this login index folder, or this index file. I'm going to give this a name, username, and then I'm going to also give this a name, password. Placeholder is going to be email or username. So we'll come back over here, hit refresh. That's what we got. So now, like we did before, we need to go ahead and change this into a button. And we'll say don't have an account. We need to make that link to /register. And we need to go ahead and wrap this into a form. And we'll say method post, and this button gives you the href, and we'll say type equals submit. So now our login form is done. Next thing we need to do is go into the login controller, or the login controller, and we'll say users equals new users. Yep. And we'll say if is set request username and request password. We'll say else. We're also going to say, well, that's where this needs to be done. Right. So if we need to say if user equals users all, and we'll say username and password. And notice I get the little yellow squiggly lines. That is actually grammatically correct in PHP. It's just warning me I'm setting user equal to that. I'm not checking if it's equal. And I'm meaning to do that. So, just an FYI there. And this is where the login error would happen. And if I go into our users class, our users model, we'll say function all, and this will be username, password. So what we need to do now is we'll say this model query select all from users where username is question mark and password equals question mark and delete flag equals question mark or, and we need to start that all over again, email equals question mark and password question mark and delete flag. Use question mark, and we'll say array username password 0 username password 0, and then we're going to return this model query. And again, this password needs to be MD5 protected, or MD5 hashed. Not really a protection, but basically it's more protection than none. If we go over to our users table, we can see that when we registered, I was able to get registered just fine. So basically, what this is doing is we're saying, go fetch that data. Go look it up, and this should be fetch, not query. And we're saying, go look up all that data. Here's the values for every one of these question marks. And what this fetch associates command does is, if there's any kind of data there, return it. If there's not any kind of data, return false. And if we look at this if statement here, we're setting user equal to that. Then we're testing what user equals. So if user equals false, execute this command. If it don't, do whatever's in here. If we go back over to our register, excuse me there. If we go back over to our register controller, and we see this information right here. This is almost identical to what we're going to use. So we're just going to copy and paste it. We're going to replace this ID to user ID, and we're going to replace this request to user. Simple as that. So now the user can log in, and it has error detection on this login function. So now if we go over to Webola, oops, if we come over to Webola and I type in my username and I type in my password, I get should get logged in. And I think I did. I did not get logged in. What happened here? Oh, I probably know what exactly happened. So if we go over to here and we look at where it's trying to give us index.html, which is nowhere. Hit refresh, try that again. Oh, okay, we just didn't hit refresh on the page before we did it, so let's try that again. I am logged in. And if we try that again, let's go ahead and log out and hit log in again, and you'll see that if I put any kind of weird information there, it's not going to let me in, which is weird. So we got the login functionality finished today. We got the sign up functionality finished today. We got the home page set up to where we can actually start putting content on it. We need to actually make this sign up button actually go somewhere that is useful instead of that. So we pretty much got the basics, like the login, log out, sign in, register, and the template installed, or the front end template installed. We still got one more template to install. That's going to happen on the next video. I've been doing this for a couple hours, it seems like. So that's going to wrap up this video. I hope to see you guys come back, watch my stream next time. I don't know when next time is going to be. I hope it's tomorrow actually, but I'm supposed to be, if my quality's not all that great, I'm sorry. I'm actually working with the internet service provider, and within the next couple weeks hopefully we'll have better internet service where I live. Right now I'm running on a 45/5. I can't do HD streaming, which sucks. But I want to be able to do that, so I'm talking to Comcast. Comcast actually, I'm right outside of their coverage area for it, so I'm talking to them, praying that they're going to be able to extend their coverage area for me. I'm talking to them, but the internet speed that I'm right outside of the coverage area for is actually a gigabit over 50 megs. So that's actually a huge upgrade compared to what I am now. Actually, my download currently would be my upload on the new connection. So hopefully all that comes through and everything goes great with that. Also, thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and punch that like button. If you disliked it, go ahead and punch that dislike button. If you know of anywhere that I may have screwed up in this video, or I'm new to this live streaming stuff, so if there's anywhere I may have screwed up in this video, go ahead and comment in this comment section below. Let me know what's going on. I hope I'm online tomorrow night, and thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. God bless.